So now we're going to get into actual bridge scoring. We're going to start with what I would call Cliff's Notes. I've just basically cut the guts out of a video by Pete Hollins, one of my friends and a prolific video maker on bridge topics from Australia. You're really going to want to visit his site to see what's there, all the videos he's put together. But please, not yet. You'll get so confused. Just wait, and once you learn more about the game, you'll find a treasure trove of things on Pete's site. It's nice to know that there are rule books that are published, one for duplicate and the other for rubber bridge, called the Laws. If you're at a tournament or any kind of club game, there's normally a director there or several directors who can help you. There are also experienced players that you're normally playing with that already know all this stuff, and they can assist you. They know you're just starting out. They're not going to take advantage of you. And if they do, you're in the wrong group. So what we're going to do is start with Pete Hollins' video. I just took a snap out of it, and we'll start with that, kind of the Cliff's Notes, and then we'll move on to another longer version that'll just give you all of it, and you might have to digest it in bites, but it's really worth watching a couple of times so you really get grounded in the basics.
Alright, so scoring a bridge hand. Let's break it down. So what you actually get is you get a score for the tricks that you actually get, and then there's a bonus for where you actually bid to. So what are the trick scores? So whether you're in clubs, whether you're in a minor, a major, or no trumps, the value of the tricks actually varies based on that. So if you're in a minor, you get 20 points per trick you get above the reserve. So the reserve's 6 tricks, so if you bid to one club, you're already assuming you're making those 6 tricks. So you get the trick value for any trick you score past the first 6. So you get 20 for making 1, you get 40 points for making 2 of them, and so on. Whereas for a major, you get 30 points per trick. And for no trumps, you get 40 points for the first trick, and then 30 for subsequent tricks. Now, the importance of the trick score comes to associating where the game bonus is, and how they actually work out what the level of the game bonus is when your trick score actually reaches 100 points. So notice that in no trumps, if you make 3 no trumps, you get 40 for your first trick, and then 30 for the subsequent ones. So at 3 no trumps, you've reached 100 points, and that's why you get the game bonus. In a major, you get 30 points per trick, so you need to get to the 4 of a major before you cross that 100-point barrier. You actually get to 120 points, and then you'll get that game bonus. Whereas in a minor, you have to make it all the way to the 5 level before that reaches 100 points. So that's a bit about the origins of where the game bonus actually comes in, and how the trick value actually associates with that. The next thing that you have to work out in working out your bridge score is what bonus do you actually get? So if you make your contract, you get a bonus. So depends if you're in a part score, which is below game, you make it to a game contract, you make it to a slam contract, or you make it to a grand slam contract. Now, if you're not vulnerable, if you're not vulnerable or vulnerable in a part score, it doesn't matter. You get the same 50-point bonus. Whereas if you are vulnerable or not vulnerable, it matters a lot for game, slam, or grand slam. Now, for game contracts, you get an extra 300 points instead of... you don't get all the subsequent bonus, you don't get the part score bonus and the game bonus and so forth. You just get one of these. But if you get the not vul game bonus, you get 300 points. If you've got a vulnerable game bonus, 500. For slam, it is 800 for not vul and 1250 for vul. And for grand slam, it's 1300 not vul and 2000 vulnerable. Yeah, you don't need to remember these off by heart, but it's just so that you understand a bit about the scale of this. Okay, so for getting these bonuses, you actually have to bid to those level and then get the trick score. Any extra tricks that you get over tricks are just worth the original trick score, but they don't actually add to getting this bonus. So this is the two main parts that make up your bridge score by itself. So do you get your trick score? What did you bid to? Did you get the bonus? You add those together, and this is actually how you compare a score. So if you bid to 4 hearts, not vulnerable, and you made 11 tricks, how this would actually work is you made 11 tricks, so you got 5 times 30, which is 150, and you bid to game, so you get the game bonus, not vol, so that's the extra 300, so you get a score of 450. So this is how you can actually work out those scores. When you actually go down though, if you're not vulnerable, you lose 50 points per trick you go down. If you're vulnerable, it's 100 points per trick. But if you get doubled, what it is you, not vol, it goes 1, then 3, then 5. So not vol, it starts off, you lose 100 points per trick, and then you lose 200 points per trick for the next 2, and then it scales up to losing 300 points per trick. Whereas when you're vulnerable, it starts off as minus 200, and then you just lose 300 points per trick thereon after. This actually changed a little while back, because it used to be that if you were not vol, you just lost 200 points per trick, and it meant sacrificing at the grand level was a really good idea. So they had to up this back. I think around the 80s sometime this actually changed. So this is how doubled under tricks work. And the final thing I want to talk about is doubling. So if you get doubled and make your contract, what actually happens is you double the trick values. So we'll go back to the trick score. Your tricks are now worth double. Now, if your trick score now reaches 100 earlier, so let's say that we were in 2 hearts doubled, our trick score is now worth 120 if we make it. So we'd get a game bonus. Even though we didn't actually bid to game, our opponents have doubled us into game because of that. You also, if you make the contract, you get a 50-point bonus for the insult. I just love that. Just the insult of being doubled and being made, you get an extra 50 points. So if you're in 2 hearts doubled, not vulnerable, and we made just 2. So here the trick score is now worth 60 points per trick, so it's 120. We'd get the 50 for the insult, which is 170. And then we get the game bonus for not vol, which was an extra 300, so 470 for being in 2 hearts doubled. So this is how you can sort of work it out. Now you don't need to remember all of these off by heart, but it's a good idea to understand how they fit together and why they actually fit together. And then you'll slowly pick these up. So that's how you actually score just one bridge hand.
Okay, just a couple of quick notes before we go into the longer version of that with Alex Kemeny. You've just seen an example of a formal score pad. You hardly ever run into those anymore. They're mostly done by folks who are over 70 or 80 and they're playing in bridge parties, and they'll have those. But usually what you'll see is what you're going to see in a moment with Alex, just drawing a couple of lines, and everybody scores that way if you're going to score at rubber bridge. Just some quick language notes. Where they say reserve, we would say book. That's the first 6 tricks that are taken, which are expected. If you earned a contract, you're expected to take half the deck, and we start counting at trick 7 to trick 13. It's the same in Australia and in America, except for the language. They might say no bid, where we would say pass. And they might say nil, where we would say 0. That's pretty much it.